Hello, it's Doug from Topical Steroid Addiction, and today I'm going to be talking about the effects of sunlight on eczema and red skin syndrome. I'm giving this talk today in the conservatory and it's closed, so I'm getting exceptionally hot. I'm actually hotter here than it would be outside. I've trapped all the heat in and I'm actually sweating, and throughout this video I'm probably going to be sweating profusely, but I'm doing it to prove a point. I'm not quite sure what the point is, but I'm doing it. When we're talking about weather and sunlight, there's a few different things to consider here. The first is the actual rays themselves. What happens when the rays of the sun hit your skin? Sunlight is a very delicate issue because obviously it's famous for having all sorts of skin problems if you're exposed to too much sunlight. But there are benefits in some people, depending on their medical situation, that will help certain skin conditions. Now that's a very vague and elusive claim to make, but it's really true. If you have eczema, it's going to be different to if you have red skin syndrome. So traditionally with eczema, sunlight was a standard form of therapy before the steroid creams came out. If people had dry skin, moisturiser, hydration of the skin and sunlight were very good, natural, traditional therapies to use. However, with topical steroid addiction, it's not as clear cut. It becomes a little bit more complicated because there are many different factors to consider. The second is the heat, and that's why I'm doing it in this conservatory. I've closed all the doors, and as you can see, I'm starting to sweat profusely. I'm doing this on purpose to prove a point, in that although the sun rays may be good for you, the heat from the sun may not be good for you because the heat causes you to sweat, and the sweat makes you itch. Also, one of the main problems with topical steroid addiction is that when patients are going through withdrawal, their body temperature tends to fluctuate very dramatically, and they may feel cold on the inside while on the outside they feel piping hot. So the patients have a lot of trouble regulating their temperature. So in the summer, especially in conditions like this when it gets really hot, it sends those blood vessels into a bit of a flux. The other issue is age. So for example, if you're a child, it's going to be different to if you're an adult. If a child gets a headache, if they're sweating and they're getting dehydrated, they might not be able to monitor their own physiological state, whereas as an adult you can identify, you think, hang on a minute, I need to cool down, I need to go into the shade a minute. Children tend to play a lot more in the sun, so sunlight is a very tricky subject because it really does depend on the medical history, it depends on the genetic disposition, it depends on where you're receiving the sunlight, in terms of which place of the world. There's a lot of different factors to sunlight. It's a very tricky, difficult subject. The other factor to consider is genetics. So for example, if you're more fairer colour, if you have red hair, then you're more likely to be affected by the sun than those who have a darker complexion. Another thing that I'd suggest people keep an eye on, again you'd need to go and see a doctor, is how the sun cream may be affecting your skin, because there are many different types of ingredients in sun cream, and depending on who's manufactured it and where it's from, there may be chemicals in there which may irritate your skin even more. So I'd advise to go and see a doctor, or at least take into awareness the effects of what certain sun creams might have on your skin. Another thing to consider, which I'm not going to go into too much at the moment because I'm just about to dehydrate and pass out in this chair, but seriously, joking aside, I need to find out more about this, how UV rays and the sun affect the nitric oxide in the skin's vascular system. So I'm going to find out more about how the sun affects nitric oxide, because I think that would be a very interesting and important part in the management and the healing of topical steroid addiction. With this subject, I don't want to talk too much about it because I know enough to be dangerous. It's a very difficult, delicate subject with regards to how much sun exposure is enough, how often, at what parts of the body. It's a very specific thing. Just be very careful. When it comes to sunlight, be very careful. It has some great benefits, but it all depends on the circumstances and the individuality of the patient. So my point is that the sun is a very powerful medication. It can help you with your health, but again, like me sitting in this chair proves, and why I've done the video in this chair, is that even a normal healthy person having too much sunlight in the wrong space at the wrong time can be detrimental, very detrimental to your health. But at the same time, if I'd have gone out and just got a little bit of sunlight and went back into the shade again, it could have been beneficial. It depends on the person. It depends on the environment. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and take a nice cold shower. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful as always. And always remember, healing happens. This video is not intended as medical advice. If you'd like more information on topical steroid addiction, please visit redskinsyndrome.com. If you'd like to see more of these videos, subscribe now. Also, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like and share the information.